Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Invision podcast. My name's Drake. I'm joined with Alexander, and today we have a very interesting episode. So today we've decided we're going to be having a free talk, and basically what that is we just decided we're just going to be talking about a whole bunch of different things, and we can't really just categorize it together. Uh, Hopefully, stay with us. Grab a notepad. Whether you're listening to this, I mean, if you're in the car, I don't recommend having a notepad. I recommend just, listen to it. But if you can, if possible, obviously we know people are busy, but a notepad, maybe grab some notes on your phone or something while we go. But just to get things started, I think the first thing I really want to talk about is how does one really start to lock in? I think that's how what I'm trying to say. How do you really start to lock in, start to focus? Because I feel like a lot of people are like, okay, I'm ready for this self-development journey, but like, what does it mean to lock in? I guess is the first thing we should say.
Yeah. So for me, when I think, I guess it kind of comes down to how bad you really want it. You know what I mean? Because like people might say what they want to say, could talk the talk, but will they walk the walk? You know what I mean? It's like how bad do they really want to do this? How badly do you think their personal if they look at their personal life, is this truly where they want to be themselves? And if not, then they obviously got to elevate themselves into the better person they want to become. So it all really comes down to if you just want it bad enough. I feel like if you really want to create a better life for yourself, there's really no excuse to not to, you know? So I kind of go it off of those terms.
That's a good way to put it. Um, just to build off that last thing you said too, like it obviously people are gonna want things, right? But when we say how bad do you want it, it's almost like it becomes a need. It's almost like a do or die situation where do you stay in the same place or do you really strive for greatness? And I think a lot of people forget like hard work is hard work. Like that means blood, sweat, tears. That means doing the things you don't want to do, but you have to get it done. I literally had this thought while I can't remember exactly, but I was going down the staircase. I had just finished. I think it was probably my English class, and I was just really working. I'm gonna say I was just working my ass off, really. And I sat there and I just wrote. And like, I'm gonna be honest, English is not easy. To write is not easy. Some people might find it easy, but for me, like, it's it's a pain in the ass, right? You sit there and you write something and you feel like it's not good enough. But the thing was, I just had to push through, and eventually I just had to say, look, stop being a perfectionist, get the work done. Really, just start typing, get at it. And how bad, I can't even express to you how badly I just wanted to stop everything and find a distraction, whether it was talking to someone, check my phone, open a new tab. And really, I just had to discipline myself, almost slap myself on the wrist and just straight up say, no, you got to get this done. And I'm telling you, it's so exhausting when you do it. But by the time you're done, you feel so good. That feeling of when you've been productive and you really got something done not only makes you feel good about yourself and you actually have a good day. I'm not kidding you. Try starting off your morning and just getting the hardest task done. You'll feel so good, but it is extremely easier said than done, right? But once you build that momentum, you just keep going, right? I think you can definitely relate to this. But once you get something done, it's almost addicting. It's like a drug. You can't stop. You just like want to get more and more done because that feeling of getting something done feels so good. It feels so good. And like, not just it feeling good, but it is so beneficial, right? Because what if you didn't get that done? You procrastinate, right? Then you're just taking more and more of your time. So I would just say that. But back to my question too about being locked in, right? One thing is also being hungry. Another thing is you really have to set yourself up for success. You have to understand that if you want the best for yourself, you need to put yourself in the best environment possible. And that's very hard to do, right? Like, for example, your home, uh, how do you want to call it? Like your setup basically at home, right? Where are you going to do your work? Where are you going to sleep, right? Those are two big things. First of all, sleep is crucial. We all know this, right? We're human beings. We've been sleeping our whole lives, right? You can tell the big difference between when I get up and a good night's sleep and I get up on a bad night's sleep, or even like oversleeping too. Too much sleep is really bad as well. Um, so you really need to be able to like basically rest. You need to rest, right? Like you hear these things about Elon Musk going crazy and just getting so much done, but he sleeps on the couch in the
Yeah,
office.
but at this point, I don't think Elon Musk is even human. He's
Yeah.
a superhuman. Elon
Mhm.
Musk is something like we've never seen before. Yeah, the guy doesn't sleep. He literally, yeah, he even admitted that he sleeps in his own office, right? Whatever. So I mean, the guy's on the grind. So I guess we can props to him. But I guess for the majority, for most, right?
For the rest of
Obviously, get
us.
a good night's sleep. But obviously, like you gotta be productive during the day, and maybe obviously you probably need those times, like those nights, to just work and maybe avoid a couple hours of sleep. But the truth is, you gotta have a good amount of sleep to be productive for the next day, and so on. So kind of trying to keep that positive cycle of good sleep is really
Absolutely.
important.
And the other thing, so once you've established your sleep, is your work area, which is so important. And may you note, these two places cannot be the same thing. You cannot do your work in your bed. You cannot do your work in your bed. As nice as it is, it just it causes so many problems. One, when it comes time to sleep, like your brain just associates the work and the sleep, and it just gets messed up too. Either you're gonna sleep while you work, or you're gonna have your brain going crazy while you're trying to fall asleep, and it's just gonna be a whole mess. So having a designated area really helps. Second of all, when I look at my table, right, what do I see? Like basically emptiness. I try to keep as much stuff off my desk. At the moment, I've got quite a bit of stuff though. I will admit that. I definitely need to keep it clear. And
I mean, I got a couple pencils lying around, maybe a water bottle,
yeah.
but that's about it. Like a
All right.
globe. So
What's the globe doing there?
I don't know, just spinning. I don't know. Just there, just chilling. But yeah, I definitely agree though. Like you gotta keep the work area and then the sleeping area kind of away, separate. They're two very different things. So if you mix them up, it's not gonna end well. So I totally agree with you on that for sure.
I'm just gonna say even more too. Like I try to keep my technology as far away as possible. Like
Yeah, yeah,
like I did say like I don't struggle as much as other people with my phone. So like there are times that I put my phone on my desk, but I've almost made it second nature. Whenever I'm in the classroom, you'll never see my phone, not even in my pocket. It is in my bag and I never touch it. It's on silent. Same habit when I'm doing my work. I keep my
it's
phone
good.
either charging on the charger and I just don't touch it, or sometimes it's just literally going to be in the bag. Like the worst case scenario, and I've done this so many times, so I can really speak about it, is I'll just give my phone to my whoever's in the house or just put it in another room. Like just take my phone. I'm not touching this thing. Like I can't right now. And that's just going to help so many people. So many people need that because like the first 2 weeks, all right, are going to be the hardest of just like to build this habit,
Yeah,
right? This is a habit to not use your phone is a good habit. You need to build this because it's almost like a life skill. If you're addicted to your phone, I'm sorry, but life is just going to get harder from here, right?
yeah. The truth is, your phone is just the biggest distraction ever. This, handheld little thing could just do everything, create as much dopamine and just makes you feel really good, right? But obviously, it's a huge distraction to obviously getting into the deep work. And when you said being addicted to the phone is obviously a bad thing if you're doing unproductive stuff. But if you're productive on your phone, because again, a phone can do so many things. If you're productive on the phone, it's not really too bad, right? Like if you're just obviously working from your phone or doing anything, then I think it's not that big of a deal. So I guess it all just depends on what you do on your phone. And most of the time, people that aren't doing work are distracting themselves via Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is.
I'll put it
But
this
most
way.
importantly, just yeah,
You
just
can let me talk, man. No, I'm joking. I'm joking around.
just eliminate those distractions is basically just the key.
Mhm. I will just throw in really quickly. It has been pretty hard for Oleg and I to do podcast uh on Zoom. Obviously, it'd be so much nicer to be in person, which stay
And
tuned
that
to.
time, that time will come.
Mhm.
We're telling you guys that time will come.
Absolutely.
All right.
Those are going to be
For
some
now,
nice
we just got to
months.
stick to our guns, see what we can really work out. But once we get everything going, again, just keep on working, putting all the hard work, all the hours, all the ironic as this is, no nights of sleep, right? Although we obviously value sleep sometimes, you just need those, you got to prioritize work over sleep sometimes. That's just how it is, you
Hmm.
know?
It is. And look, the tough thing is like when we look at it, look, Oleg and I both work jobs, right? Me, not so much. I've got like, uh, I guess very, very part-time jobs where I can work like hours. My hours are very
Yeah. How
flexible.
much, yeah, do you get paid for every time? Because I know you do basketball coaching, right?
Mm.
Or ref or whatever.
Yeah.
But do you get paid for like when do you get paid? Bi-weekly or
Uh,
how does that work?
Normally I get paid like at the end of the month or bi-weekly. At the moment, I'm just getting paid by the end of the month because
By the end of the month.
it's a pretty low key gig, I would say.
Yeah, because for me, this obviously involves a part-time job. I get paid just bi-weekly from the 1st to the 15th, and then from the 16th to the 30th or 31st is just how I get paid.
Yeah, mind you,
So it's bi-weekly.
you do work for like a bigger company. I'm kind of like, look,
Yeah,
guys,
true.
I'm not doing any illegal stuff, but I can definitely tell you, uh, it's more so like obviously I'm a kid, right? So it's different. But I've got more like side hustle job than actual like work job, which
Yeah.
hopefully the
Do you know
CRA doesn't come after me, but
do you know how many hours is, part-time actually? Like
uh
what's
it's
considered part-time for hours wise, like in a
like
week or two?
24, like 24 hours.
24 in one week?
Yeah, it's like three shifts, 24. Like a lot of places have a minimum of 24 almost.
Yeah. I mean, even I sometimes just go over that sometimes.
Mhm.
So again, I have to balance all this work, school, and just everything.
Mhm.
So,
I will say
it gets
too,
tough, but it just things you got to do. There's really not much going around it.
you've made me think of something really important too, which has this is absolutely has to do with self-development. But okay, obviously we know the term burnout, right? We've all experienced burnout in some form. But I actually want to talk about burnout through employment, all right? Like a lot of people seem to push themselves a little too hard on the job, which, hey, look, that's not a bad thing. But if you're not enjoying it, that's when it becomes bad, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to say too, for all the young people, because I really think this is important. Obviously, this is our target audience, right? The majority of our watchers are probably going to be people around our age. Don't let your employer basically use you. You know what I mean? Like really it should be 50-50 in this. We're entrepreneurs, but we really like eventually when we have our own business, right? We care about not even employees in the terms of how it is today, but employees are like I know, basically just colleagues, right? My job as an entrepreneur is just I'm leading the operations, right? I'm the guy in charge. That's just my job at the end of the day. We're all working a job, right? No one's higher, no one's lower. Everyone's job is essential, right? Although salary might be different. Not to get too off topic before I get back, but salary is just kind of based on how much money you're bringing in. If your position is bringing less money in, okay, that's probably why, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, obviously it depends on the business, right? But back to what I was saying, I really see so many people who get exploited. You know what I mean? Like you come in, and I'm one of them too, right? I won't say at which job or whatnot, right? But look, you get told all this stuff, and you get really excited, and then you push yourself, right? Because your employer's pushing on you, and eventually you just like start to see, okay, maybe it's less about me, and it's more so benefiting them, right? It's
Oh,
almost like
for sure. Yeah. I mean,
like
for sure it is.
don't let people almost in a sense feed your ego. You know what I mean? A lot of people like to do that, like to, you know, get their ego fed and then they feel so good about themselves. It's almost like you have to take a step back and realize, hold on, you know, it's less about me. It's actually more for them. And it's kind of sad too. Like, really, I'm saying this because I've seen so much of this. Like, if you're a younger, I guess, person who's going to work, right? You got to really watch out for this. Obviously, right? Like, first of all, we're working mostly minimum wage jobs or close to minimum wage, right? And have you know, minimum wage jobs are probably the people who put the most, a lot of work. They're getting worked really hard and they got
A
paid
lot
like
of
basically
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, so no reward. A lot of work, but little reward.
Mhm. And it's kind of the sad part about how businesses profit, right? They have to cut costs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but the truth is as well in business, just life in general, sometimes hard work isn't even tied with a lot of money. You know what I mean? So it kind of just depends on, I guess, yeah, just literally just depends on how much money you bring in for the company and I guess for yourself, right? Because like you could put, let's say you put like someone who works at an oil rig or like at the coal mines. Obviously, it's a lot of labor, like it's hard labor, it's all of hard work, but they don't get paid as much as let's say like an investor, someone who goes into real estate, who doesn't have that necessarily like physical work. Obviously, everything requires mental work for sure, but he doesn't have that level of physical work. Yet he's getting paid way more. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
So
I want to
sometimes hard work isn't even tied with a lot of money.
I want to say too, like, let's look at sales jobs, for example, right? Which again, I need to say this again. I know we're getting into business, but this is very crucial. This is very crucial because
Hey,
there's so many
at
aspects
this
to it.
point, you guys got to realize we're gonna be wandering off into business.
Mhm.
Business is like one of the main keys of just self development. Again, finances, getting your money straight, super
Mhm.
important. You gotta
And
be you gotta be good in all sorts of areas. Physical, getting a good body, spiritually, meditating if that helps you or whatever helps you get into that, I guess Zen mode you could say. And just obviously build your intelligence. Your network, everything like that. Super important. You gotta be a well-rounded person. You know what I mean? So, yeah, expect
absolutely,
this. All right.
absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. I did lose a little bit of what I was saying, but that was probably because that was such a good point. Um, I'm just gonna say quickly though, look, like, of course, this is going to be self development, but as Oleg and I learn more and more about business, that's what we're going to be talking about, right? We didn't come in here and just right off the bat, but that business was our niche, right? We wanted to talk about something that we've had more time in, which is definitely self development. And also, I feel like self development is a little easier to get into than business. Business is definitely like more complicated for sure, right?
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is, look, this is what we're going into, and it makes sense for us to talk about the stuff that is like apparent in us, right? That at the end of the day, like
Yeah.
I don't want to be talking about becoming a doctor because let's be real here, guys. No one would want to listen to us. I wouldn't know what the hell I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Exactly.
and
Like,
credibility
yeah.
wise, I don't have any.
Yeah, obviously we're gonna like diversify our topics. We're not just gonna talk solely about business. We're gonna have diverse topics. But again, as Draco said, as much as we're gonna learn, progress into this whole business world, we're gonna be talking more about, I guess, our experiences and what we've learned, and hopefully just share with you guys, right? So,
Absolutely. Um, I want to talk a little more on a transition, a little more about like I guess just about this podcast in general, right? So there was one big point, and I'll let you talk about it. What the Q&A. I want you to talk a little bit
Q&A,
about.
yes. All right, so the Q&A basically just simple question and answer. We're gonna have like a box on our Instagram where you could just type in any question that you have about the podcast. Again, whether it could be either it could be debates or just any questions that you have for us. And we're actually gonna read them out live on the podcast. So we can answer the questions live on the podcast and we'll just kind of talk about the questions, maybe bring up some topics. Overall, this should be pretty fun.
Yeah. So even if you don't see the poll, be sure to just DM us. We'll definitely, let's
Yeah.
say, look, we come out with a Q&A episode. Look, just keep piling in the questions. We'll go into the next Q&A, right?
Yeah.
And a big thing too is like let's say you're not necessarily of our age group and you have questions about our point of view, that's the best kind of questions we can answer, right? If you've got questions like let's say your mom or dad, right, and you want to know more into what's it like at school at in our age, right, like be sure to send in those questions. Everything is going to be, we'll try our best to answer everything. And most importantly too is uh, if you're interested or you know any people who we should feature, guest speakers, we're definitely going to be looking for guest
Oh,
speakers
guest
eventually.
speakers. Yeah.
Once we get more credible, once we get a bigger following, for sure, guest speakers, I think no matter, I mean, who you are, you always have something to share, right? And there's always going to
Yeah.
be some
Spreading
experience.
spreading even more knowledge, sharing different point of views. So definitely diversify the points of views of the argument and what we agree, what we don't agree on. Who knows, right?
Like the big goal is just that we have a platform here. Um, Although it is very broad, we like to keep it broad, right? We we can always just go and say, "Oh yeah, this is the niche, this is the niche," but at the end of the day, we're just basically here to share about us, right? We have to be two personalities, right? We're not here and like we can't just talk all about self-development, right? Because
Yeah.
to be fair, we don't know everything about self-development, right? That's just a broad category of about what we're just about what we're talking about, right? And that was honestly like the big goal for Oleg and I was just let's just get out first, you know? Let's
Yeah.
get out. Let's
Build build a following, build some credibility, just get your information out there because most importantly, is just you just gotta start. You just gotta even if things may not, I guess, come out as you want it, as well as you wanted. Maybe people may perceive as just you didn't put enough work or whatever it may be. As long as you started, it's crucial, man. Just you just gotta start, and things are just gonna come after that. You're gonna keep on getting better. Most importantly, you gotta do this things quick. You don't you can't wait for the right time. There's no such thing as right time. You gotta start. Okay, this is what I've been telling Draco a lot. We've talked about this a lot. Speed is super important. You just gotta start and not wait for the perfect time because if you're gonna keep on waiting, you're gonna wasting even more time. Is gonna go into the cycle and loop that you're just never gonna get out of. So most importantly, just start and things will just come your way.
absolutely. And just remember, whenever, and I mean whenever you get any sort of idea, question, anything, write it down. All right. Idea, question, thought, anything. Like this is a big skill. And I mean, even now, go write this down too. The whole reason this was able to come together was literally I had a thought in the shower and I was just like, all right, you know what? We got to do something. So I wrote down not just like podcasts, but every single one of my ideas of things I needed to talk about with Oleg, things we need to feature on the podcast. Everything has just been written down because whether it was like I was trying to fall asleep, an idea came to me. Look, I would rather sacrifice like what 5 minutes of sleep just for me to write down a really good idea, right? If I
Yeah,
have a really good idea, it's so funny. I'll like rush across the room just to pick up my phone just to write it down on my notepad. But that really is the big difference, right? I know, like I'm sure of it. So many people have had so many good ideas, but you probably just forgot them. Like you probably had a really good idea before you go into bed and you just forgot it, and you can never get that idea back. You have to really hope that it comes back to your mind somehow, right? But I like what I really want people to understand is, look, we're 17. I'm going to keep saying this because we really need to get this, for those people who might have just stumbled across this episode, for example, right? And haven't watched from the beginning, which obviously we recommend. First of all, the quality is always going to keep getting better. That's what we're going to be focusing on, right? But at the end of the day, look, we're 17, we're still learning. And if you've got something to share, share with us. We want to learn. You know what I mean? We've talked about growth mindset as well. We're here and we're hungry. All right. We're hungry for knowledge. We love to learn. Anything we can do to make this podcast better. Any feedback, please let us know. Any topics you want to hear us talk about, please let us know. Anything,
yeah,
even as simple as like, look, you've got, I shouldn't say even as simple, even as something like you've got a situation, it could be so valuable to just ask us because you might not be the only one going through that. So many other people
yeah.
might be going
Many
through the
people
same thing.
have, yeah, that you may have the same question and you happen to answer and to just pose the one that they also had. So we're always open to new ideas. So just make sure you let us know, and we're definitely going to try and get everything out as best as we can.
And that would be adding value as well, right? If you want to add value, right? The best things you can do is look, you can ask that, but also go through the comment section, right? Respond to, I guess, other people, almost have dialogue too, right? Maybe not just the comment section, but I mean, hopefully one day, which I actually, it's a good thing I bring this up. And I like that this is a podcast format because we're able to just have a conversation, right? And it's free flowing. But I would like some form of, whether it be a Discord server or, I mean, Facebook groups a little old for us in our generation. So I'd probably say Discord's more catering.
Discord, yeah. Yeah, Discord
But
server for sure.
the ability to network with like-minded people has been something I've been like begging and begging. And
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly share. So I was part of, and you know this, I was part of a high performance course, right? There was a training session and they did a um, Facebook group, right? And if I'm being honest, these people were maybe what? like 6 years older than me. At the time, I was about 15, so they're like 21, around there. So they're about uni students. I was about midway through high school. And even though we could be, I'm pretty sure we can be classed both as Gen Z, which I don't know. I'm not completely,
Gen Z is, I'm pretty sure it's 1996 is the cutoff at the oldest.
if I'm being honest, it's a little too late to be doing math right now. My head's not working. But
Yeah.
but really the big thing is even though the age gap wasn't different, it was just so like we're all there and we were there for high performance, but the mindsets were completely different. The values, everything were completely different, right? Now, mind you, it's not just the age, it's also environment and everything else, right? But I just felt like I wasn't able to connect with them. Now, it's not just age, because I'm sure, like, even if I'm 16, there are probably people who are older than me and younger than me that I can connect to, right? But it's almost like a subcategory within the niches that it depends on people who are kind of going through what you're going through, right? So, going back to what I was saying, if you ask the question and someone else relates, that's just an easy way to be able to connect with someone, right? Not necessarily easy because whatever you're going through, I'm sure is probably hard, right? But also, like, first of all, it's very easy for you to just go, I'm struggling with procrastination because we can all relate to that. That's very broad, right? But even little things such as, look, I just really struggle to go, like, I don't know, go to bed on time, right? Even though it's still very broad, like you and someone else who can connect on that, like, this is going to get into our next thing that really helps with networking, but you can hold each other accountable. I think you know where I'm going with
Accountability.
this.
I talk a lot about accountability. But before we actually move on to that, I just have a quick question because you were
Yeah.
talking about obviously building this, network of like-minded people. And, we basically, like, I've known you since grade four, right? So it's been a really long time, right? And we sort of like, as friends, we just became closer and closer. But is it a coincidence that we are like-minded ourselves? Because like we could have known this as early as grade four, right? So how did this whole idea of us have
It
this whole
is.
entrepreneurial mindset? You know what I mean? Like how did we both get that?
Well, there's a
You know what I'm
couple
trying to say?
things. All right. First of all, okay, although like coincidences are a thing, I really don't think coincidence are like really a thing. I think it's pretty meant to be, right? I think, this is getting a little spiritual, but whatever it might be, right? I think it's more than just a coincidence, right? We clicked right from the get-go. Maybe it's lucky, maybe it was meant to be, but really what matters is we grew up together in the same environment and we grew up with other people in the same environment and the turnouts have been different. So I think it's more than just environment, right? When you look at that, like, look, when we were growing up, although we lived on the same street, we still had a whole bunch of friends at school, people that we hung out outside of school, people we talked about self-development to, right? And it just hasn't had the same impact on them as it has on us. And I want to say, like, look, there are different types of environments, but I just want to say it's the way we were raised too. Like, um, I don't mean this to be offensive to anyone. Oh no, big thing I'm gonna say, but it depends on how you were raised, right? Not saying that I don't want to say whatever, right? I'm actually gonna keep it to myself. I'm only gonna speak on myself, but if I'm being honest, my childhood wasn't the easiest, right? I can speak on that. And this is getting personal. And big thing we're going to talk about is becoming vulnerable, right? You have to become vulnerable, right? You have to be able to share because if I'm not vulnerable and I'm not being authentic, well, you're not really hearing from me, right? But look, childhood was not easy for me, right? Some people might have it easy, and just because you have an easy childhood doesn't mean you're a bad person, right? Let's not get confused with that either. But I learned so much stuff in my childhood that could not be taught to me in school, right? The ability of like being adaptive, almost like self-taught psychology, understanding. I'll give you the big word. It's called introspection, right? It's basically learning about yourself, self-reflection, right? And look, if I didn't go through that, and maybe one day I share it, maybe one day I don't, we'll see in the future. Um, but if I didn't go through all of that I went through childhood, I wouldn't be the same person. It's very simple, right? all that, no matter how negative, all the ups and downs, things like that, right? Um, that was so crucial to who I am, right? And that's how I became so independent because I was forced to be independent. I wasn't like it's not like people can't just choose to be independent. You know what I mean? You kind of have to get pushed in that way. For you especially, like look, Oleg's got younger siblings, right? Oleg's got two parents who are working their asses off, right? Oleg's family is probably one of the hardest working families I know. Big shout out mom and pops. All right. But really he was forced to be independent and he had to, take on a lot of responsibility that people didn't, right? You got to look after your siblings, right? You got to focus on yourself too, which is the big thing. Time management skills. You also have to support your parents, right? Although you're not supporting your parents financially, there are a lot of things that you need to do. You need to take things off of their shoulders, like chores and things. That way they have the
Yeah,
time
chores.
to go out. I
Yeah,
completely
I did a
understand.
bunch of chores and never did I once have an allowance like all these other
No,
kids have.
no.
Never had an
And
allowance.
the thing is, like Oleg and I will always share a connection so deep because we basically lived in each other's houses. You know what I mean? We lived so close. We spent so much time together. We could really see a whole nother level. There are levels to it, almost like you can imagine a bubble, right? Level one, level two, level three, level four. Level one being yourself, right? Level two is your super immediate family, right? Friends, level three, level four, and you get broader and broader, right? That's just how I like to picture it. But really, Oleg and I could see each other's lifestyles. And I think the best thing is having someone like that. Like we're gifted in that way because we can be so vulnerable with each other. Like when I'm doing something that I shouldn't be, right? Because you know how you know basically how I live life. Obviously it's a little harder right now because well we're in different
The
parts of the
distance, yeah.
country.
The distance.
But when we were living together, I can really speak about this that like it was almost like a brotherhood. It really is brotherhood. You know what I mean?
Is yeah.
It was brotherhood. And I think that's the biggest advantage. And that's why, going back to your question, that's why we like this. Because when I found something valuable, instead of being greedy and keeping it to myself, I shared it. I remember when I enrolled in the um, high performance training, I was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be, you know,
You told me about it, yeah.
I'm going to be sharing as much as I can to you. Right. And every time Oleg's had something, Oleg shared it with me. And not just information, but talks, being able to, I also want to say this as well, like for guys, you know what I mean? You got to be able to open up. It's not the easiest, right? But I'm telling you, a lot of things is so much better when you go and tell it to someone that you trust than to just keep it and bottle it in, right? That's another part of self-development too, is when you really do that self-reflection, right? You'll see, like, yes, it's nice to journal it, but sometimes you just got to let it out and you got to hear someone else's, you know, point of view on something. You've got such tunnel vision in a lot of the things you see, right? That sometimes it's nice to hear another person's perspective. And that's why Oleg and I can really have good debates about things, but still become, or not still become, still keep maintain our friendship, right? We've got different views on so many different things, and our views will always change on things as well, too, which is a big thing. I remember like Ulk and I have had so many different kind of, I guess, mindsets over the years, right? About different things and the different ways to look at it. Definitely like being able to grow with each other too has been a big thing. And I mean, that's why we've been such a good fit for the podcast because I rant and Oleg keeps quiet. No, I'm joking around. But being able to build off of each other is really the big thing. So I would just like wrap it up before it gets too emotional. It's true brotherhood. It's a true brotherhood, and that's why the podcast is hopefully gonna do really good too. Because
I'm
look,
already tearing up, yeah.
we're the best fit for each other. That's the biggest thing. Like Oleg and I don't need to call each other every day to know that like we're gonna be best friends for the rest of our life. Because look, like we've just we've built that connection. It's so strong that it's I mean it can't really be broken. Don't start
Yeah.
crying now.
And I no no no, I'm not, but I'm just gonna say, yeah, definitely. So brotherhood is, I mean, it's super important. Like, just any guys out there, if you find your brother, even if it's not your biological brother, like blood, you gotta find just someone that you truly connect with, that can truly, kind of just elevate with, you know? It's just that sort of connection, you know, mental, spiritual, just everything. You gotta elevate with them and see the better of each other, you know? Obviously you gotta, you know, call each other out on your bullshit. You know, you gotta hold each other accountable. But most importantly, you just gotta, you know, elevate with each other and just kind of conquer the world. That's all it
Mhm.
is.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, Oleg and I have always had fun doing the things that when we're alone, we probably wouldn't have fun doing. And I'll just put an example. Like, look, I played soccer, but I wasn't the biggest fan. But look, just when I go and play soccer with
Uh,
Oleg,
Crossbar challenge.
it's completely
Crossbar
different,
challenge. Yeah.
right? It's completely different. And this relates to so many things, but mainly networking too, right? Like you got to find your circle where it doesn't matter what you guys do, you're still going to have fun doing it. Oleg and I have had so many, I guess, shitty experiences with a lot of things, right?
Mm,
Or encounters with people, but we've just been able to laugh it off, right? And
yeah.
I think the biggest thing too, and I think a lot of people need to hear this out is although Oleg and I have shared friends, we've never let anyone get in between, right? I feel like
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of people let
No,
others get in.
no girl, no hoe, nothing, man. Just us two.
Really? And I think people really, as we're wrapping this up, people really need to focus in on that. That look, whether it's your brother, your sister, whoever it might be, right? I think Oleg and I have shared something and it's selflessness. I need to say that again. Selflessness, right? We're not greedy, all right? We don't want to like when he succeeds, I succeed. It's simple as that. All right. Put your ego to the side. Put your whatever it is, put it to the side. When Oleg's winning, I'm winning. It's as simple as that. If Oleg made more money than me, that's a win for me. If I make more money than Oleg, like at the end of the day, it
I'm gonna
doesn't
teach him how
matter.
to do it. I'm gonna spew my information, right? Spew my
If
knowledge to him.
if he's winning, I'm winning. And
Because I
another
know
thing
he's gonna
is
do the same back. So
absolutely,
simple as
absolutely.
that.
Another thing too is like, you've always got someone to back you. You know what I mean? You've always got someone to back you, no matter what you're doing. If like when Oleg, I can't remember exactly what, but I remember you proposed something, and I remember. Oh yes, I remember. So I'll say this: Oleg had another YouTube channel. I'm not gonna get too in depth in this, right? But he made content that, I mean, let's just say it was prank videos, right? He was having fun with it too, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's perfectly fine. Like it was a hobby, right? But instead of me saying, don't do it, I said, all right, here are the downsides that could happen, right? Just to
Yeah.
keep an open mind. But I said, look, if you enjoy doing it, go do it, right? And obviously, like Oleg's had fun with doing it. I had an absolute blast watching the videos because they're absolutely funny, right? But the best thing is like no matter what he does, right? I got to support him no matter what we're doing. I've got to be there to back him and just say, look, even if it's not exactly what I would do, look, you're a whole different person at the end of the day. You're my brother. Go
Mm.
for it. I'm supporting you no
But at the
matter
same
what.
time, consider the risks, the risks and the
Absolutely.
downfalls. And obviously, I definitely agree. Like as funny as the pranks were, I just had to envision the name of the podcast. I just had to envision the future and just like the long term of this. And I just feel like it just wasn't the fit for me. So I just transferred into podcasting.
Hey, and the best part is
What it
that
is.
self growth. But anyways, guys, we got to
Mhm.
wrap this up. Thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned for more. Be sure to
Yeah.
like, comment, subscribe. Take it easy.
Have a good one.